Hello, this is another podcast with me, Dr. Lynne Reed, and today we're going to talk about sitting and tolerating a little bit of discomfort and the surprising benefits we can get from that. Our life in general has become incredibly comfort-driven, designed for comfort. We live in a world where comfort is our go-to. But I want to explore the idea that maybe too much comfort might be making us mentally suffer. What if feeling better isn't about chasing pleasure or reward, but learning to sit with a little bit of discomfort? The comfort paradox is explained by this modern life of ours, where we avoid nearly every kind of discomfort if we can. Scrolling our phone when we're bored, constantly snacking, looking for stimulation. But comfort in that way reduces the challenge that we need, the challenge that actually builds resilience for us. And when we remove that discomfort, then we remove the ability to tolerate aspects of life that are unavoidably uncomfortable. So I want us to build a normalization of slight discomfort and build that as a sort of neutral sensation. So when I think about the discomfort in life that we don't tolerate anymore, it's predominantly around about things like boredom. We can't sit in the train and watch the world go by. We're scrolling on our phones, we're listening to music, we are constantly checking updates, emails, and that benefit of that slowing down of our natural processes, our brain sort of seeing what's going on around about us, taking it in, letting it go again, that is all sort of bashed out the way by this sort of intense dopamine hitting, scrolling of our phone, grabbing of food, mindlessly snacking. We cannot seem to sit with a quietness in our brain. So by the end of today, I want us to be thinking about a couple of normalization of discomfort techniques. And the things that I want to think about and want you to process as we talk about this is whether you can actually hold on 10, 20 seconds before enjoying a treat, enjoying a meal. Can you tolerate a 30-second cold shower or that little bit of discomfort and then the feeling of being very alive afterwards? Can you go for a run without music, without your headphones? Could you possibly tolerate a digital disconnect for a morning? Could you sit in silence? I want you to choose one or two of these to try by the end of our podcast today, and I want you to practice it for the week. Things like ice baths, saunas. These are all being brought into our lives as lifestyle choices now, because these are light irritants, these are slight discomforts. But because we've removed them from our life, we've got hot running water, we've got aircon if the house is too hot, we've got heating if the house is too cold water to drink from. And in actual fact, these little luxuries have removed the discomforts we had for thousands and thousands of years. If you wanted warm food, you had to hunt it, make a fire, you were waiting for it, but you were going through hurdles to get there. Now you can order food to your door. And there is this sense that we are therefore always looking for the next little distraction that will make us happy. I want to reframe this idea of us constantly seeking the next distraction, a little bit of pleasure, as not excitement, not constant pleasure, but actually as a bit of a cycle of desire, dopamine, discontent, desire, dopamine, discontent. That's a vicious circle that will not bring you calm. And I think sometimes we mistake a seeking of happiness to be a seeking of the next pleasure, where in actual fact, happiness is our baseline state of contentment, just calm. This chasing pleasure, validation, input keeps us from the calm. So imagine taking a quiet moment in nature, sitting calmly with it in silence and listening to the quiet around us versus sitting with our earpods in and listening to music and listen to the next thing. Think about sitting, having a cup of tea and savouring that cup of tea without scrolling through your phone. Think about the most peaceful moments coming when we're actually not craving the next reward, validation, pleasure, but just existing in the moment and the peace that brings. And then I want you to look at things like discomfort. We've been made to feel uncomfortable in silence in our own space. We are uncomfortable without sharing it with other people. Sharing pictures. If we see something lovely, it's got to be photographed and shared and then liked and then dopamine hits again. But how about if we resist that constant pleasure, validation, and we actually name and lean into some emotions that help us come back to just peacefulness, just calm, just the baseline. Feeling bored, feeling anxious, feeling lonely, these are normal emotions. But we've gotten to the stage where we can't tolerate them. Loneliness is a dreadful state of affairs when prolonged and never ending. But a little bit of loneliness makes you really thoroughly enjoy social connectedness, interaction with others. That little bit of anxiety, that stress, that pushing yourself to the edge of what you're comfortable with, that's actually really useful, because once you've sat with that, once you've tolerated it, the calm is incredibly rewarding. The calm in itself is enough. And then you think of boredom. Unless you have tolerated times without great stimulation, times without heightened positive feelings, without that, then the shine comes off of all of the activity and the feedback that you get from doing interactions, with doing games and reading and watching a good movie. If we can't have that boredom, we can't have that entertainment. So let's have a new perspective. Let's sit with boredom like they are visitors. They're not the enemy. Anxiety, loneliness, sadness. We have to learn to sit with them for a little while. I'm talking about putting up with depression, coming off medications. I'm talking about those moments, those days of being a little bit melancholy, and appreciating them for passing seasons in our life that will be followed by something more positive. So think of these things as a slightly more physical being, a visitor that comes and goes, and we sit with it rather than running from it. Now, you've already survived very, very, very uncomfortable moments in life, undoubtedly, by the time you're listening to this. You may have endured loss, grief. You may have endured heartbreak and loneliness. But you will also have endured joy, pleasure, excitement. You will have enjoyed times of great stress when they led to great accomplishments. And that stress, that anxiety, that slight sadness, that melancholy, that discomfort is a teacher. It teaches us to appreciate the next stage. And again, if we look at what we are doing to remove all manner of small discomforts, we take away our ability to tolerate a change in temperature. Yet we spend money on attending a sauna or subjecting ourselves to ice baths. And I'm not saying that those things aren't to be embraced. This is exactly what I'm saying to do. I'm saying, step into actual discomfort and tolerate it. And then you appreciate the norm. If you go into a sauna and you're there thinking, crikey, this is very hot. I cannot do this. I am really struggling with this. It is so hot. I need to get out. I need to get out. When you tolerate it for that 30 seconds longer, and you go out and you lie on a cool bench, have a sip of cold water, that reward after tolerating the discomfort is so gorgeous and luxurious. Likewise, at the end of a very comfortable shower, running the cold tap and tolerating it for 30 seconds, feeling the tightening of your skin, feeling the reaction of your heart quickening, and then stepping out of that discomfort and wrapping yourself in a towel and drying off. That new energy you get is the relief, and that is the reward that we should be seeking and that we can enjoy. So what small discomfort can we practice today? What small discomfort can we tolerate just for today? And then, can we make it a habit? Can we decide to ourselves, actually, I am someone who takes the stairs rather than the lift. I am someone who pulls on a jumper rather than turn up the heating. I am happy to sit in silence for just a moment and appreciate the calm that it brings. And then think, when was the last time I felt content without needing more? Reflect on what discomfort are we avoiding when we procrastinate, when we use our phones as a distraction rather than getting on with the work that we need to do. What discomfort are we avoiding? Is it boredom? Is it anxiety? Is it mental fatigue? What discomfort am I avoiding when I make these distractions my quick release dopamine? And can I unplug from that? Can you digitally disconnect from your phone for a morning? Can you spend a little time outside without the intensity of scrolling and interactions online? How about reducing the need for distraction and increasing the challenge of sitting with our discomfort? Because that challenge builds resilience. So if we can push back and start to tolerate, acknowledge discomfort, we can grow from that. When we remove discomfort, we remove the very conditions that help us grow. So create a daily discomfort practice. And this sounds awful. I'm not talking about self-flagellation. I'm talking about normalizing a little bit of immediate gratification. I'm talking about normalizing the avoidance of procrastination and distraction. And that can just be as simple as pausing, imposing a little bit of mindful eating. So stopping and appreciating what's in front of you, smelling what you're about to eat, taking a 10-second stop when you begin, when you put the food in your mouth, rather than the quick, rapid way that we have become accustomed to. Stop and savour your food. Take 10 seconds, pause between finishing a mouthful and starting the next. How does it taste in the mouth? What's the consistency? How does it feel as you swallow the food? Take that 30-second count at the end of the shower. with a cold tap racing. See how it feels to invigorate yourself in such a way. Count your 30 seconds out loud and congratulate yourself when it's done. The next time you're going for a walk or you're going for a run, do it without headphones. Leave them at home, take big deep breaths in, and really look at your surroundings. Look at the houses you're passing, the trees that you see, the blue in the sky. Really take a moment to be in the moment. Sit in silence. Take your cup of coffee in a morning, sit in your favourite spot, and rather than flicking through the phone, rather than sticking the telly on, sit in silence and savour your coffee and your quiet before the day starts. Pick a morning that you can fully digitally disconnect. How do you feel after 2-3 hours of not having looked at your phone? Try it. Try it today. Try it through the week. Try to make it a habit. Thank you for listening and tolerating me. I hope you have a time this week to sit with your quiet, find your calm. If you'd like some more information, have a look at our website, www.aurorawellness.au, or have a little look at our wellness coaching app, Aurora, available on Google, Apple Podcasts, and all your usual output. Take care, keep well.